Animal Crossing New Horizons sales reached 22 million as Nintendo's net profits rise over 500% year on year. Well, I'll tell you, they have really hit on the target with Animal Crossing New Horizons. I tell you, Nintendo has been doing very nicely. I had never before Nintendo Switch, I did not own any Nintendo's machine. Mario was just a distant thing, and all the Pokemons and such, I just saw the anime and that's it. But with Nintendo Switch, things have changed, and I think 22 million is going to say that Animal Crossing's future is going to be secured. What is behind this thing? What is behind the success? Is it the kind of the thing that people have been locking down on their houses and have been trying to find something to do? And Animal Crossing is just that, being outside, doing fun things, and even, building stuff. I suppose that might be the reason, but we shall find out. If you want to see more RPG game news, like the video, share the video, and subscribe for the channel. We do occasionally content on RPG game news which you want to hear about, because of course there's a lot of things happening, especially today with RPG games. So like the videos and subscribe. But now let's go on to see what Animal Crossing has stored for us. Nintendo's first quarter results for its fiscal year ending March 2021 have revealed some impressive details, including that Animal Crossing New Horizon has sold over 22 million. It's a huge number. Not many games really go to that number, I tell you. And I think one of the things that Nintendo has had so much success is because so many game companies in the beginning of times when PlayStation 2 or that sort of engines were there, imagine. So the thing is, Nintendo Switch stayed true on the, kind of like accessible games for every family and that sort of stuff, for kind of whole family. And all the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, they always tried to make the realistic games. They tried to make the, the most impressive graphical games, which I have kind of lost interest to, because it's most of the time just about the graphics. And I'm nothing about, I'm not against good graphics, but there has to be this sort of kind of like a, what's new? What are you going to be doing, against, all the other, battle royale shooters? And I think Nintendo has showed that if you just define what your games are, people are going to come to them year after year. And very much that the Switch has sold over 61 million units, and that Nintendo net profits year on year have grown over 500. Like, that's a I tell you, it's a huge, and it has been one of the most successful moves for Nintendo to do that. I think they should have been on the kind of the big console already, but of course I think it might be for limitations or something. But I tell you, now when they're on people's living rooms, these sort of Nintendo Switches, you can take them with you. I think that's very good, of course, for people that want to travel and do that sort of gaming. I tell you, it's going to even, I think, grow much more, but it always depends on what sort of games they're going to be releasing even in the future. Animal Crossing New Horizon was so popular from April to June 2020 that it was played on over 50% of all Nintendo Switch systems sold during that period, on the first day of purchase. Furthermore, Animal Crossing New Horizons accounted for over 40% overall sell through the Nintendo titles in Japan, the US and Europe for the same time. So they have had some successes. I personally haven't yet got around with Animal Crossing, but I tell you, just my friends talking about it and looking at online, it looks a lovely little game. Going around island and doing stuff. Very, very. I think not the thing that possibly all the big AA titles really try to do. There might be some indies that really get that niche right, but I think Nintendo, they give kind of original kind of game styles there. I tell you. There's a lot of good Nintendo titles. I don't know why Skyrim is there, but Skyrim, it has been released on even on a toaster soon, so I suppose. But speaking of software, Nintendo also had 2 new million sellers released this quarter with Xenoblade Chronicles, Clubhouse Games 51 worldwide classics selling over 1,032 and 1 million units respectively. Ring Fit Adventure, which had a product shortage issue, I think that's what Nintendo really does. They have always this, they kind of have this sort of like a demand because they just they do less units. I suppose it's kind of a good sales tactic though. You really never miss on profits. Those have sold over 4 million and blah blah blah. But I tell you, the success of Switch software was mirrored by the console itself, which has now sold 61 million units, putting it only slightly behind NES. So I think it might not be yet the biggest, but I think there's only just a few ones, just a few more meters to really cross to that very big amount of of sales. I tell you, Nintendo has done good, and I think many other companies, they should take notice of how to really do this stuff, how to get this stuff really working on, because many companies I've seen, they have chased far for the big profits of this graphically big games and such, but they've kind of forgot that if everyone else is trying to do the same thing that you do, it's a lot of competition. And Nintendo basically has been kind of left to kind of grow and to just become bigger and bigger, and that's the result. Now we have big Nintendo, and they have kind of monopoly on this sort of family-friendly thing, because they market themselves as that. That's the main thing, and families purchase it, and of course children are growing up with Nintendo Switches, so why not? It's a working formula, and I can see that they're going to be doing even better in future times. Lastly, Nintendo's mobile and IP-related income reached 113 billion yen. So basically, 125 million, which is a 32 increase. I don't really care about too much of their statistics other than in a news sense. I'm just really caring, of course, on the game side. And I think this number, these things that we're going to be seeing, and we are seeing on the Nintendo success, I think it's going to carry forward. I think we're going to be seeing even more in future times. So I very much recommend everybody, if you haven't still gotten Switch, I personally purchased it. It is a little bit costly, of course, these machines are, but if you are into these sort of game experiences like Zeldas and Marios, and even the Animal Crossing one, which is very well sold, of course, and seems pretty lovely at that, I recommend to check it out. I recommend to have a look, because I think PlayStations and Xboxes have kind of lost this generation to Nintendo. Nintendo has always been kind of in the background of having these handheld games. But now they are really pushing forward, and I want to see where it leads. If you want to see more RPG news on this channel, like the video, share the video, subscribe for the video, and in the down below, as you can see all of our news in one spot. Having a Nintendo Switch out there, I think it's very good, because there's a lot of RPGs on that engine. And why not? It's good for me, a fan of RPGs. Hopefully you are as well. If you want to see more content like that, follow. And we're going to be talking about more news in future. RPG game news continuing forward.